Signore e signori, ladies and gentlemen, buongiorno e benvenuti a tutti. My name is Santo Veltri, and I am the chair of the board of directors of Villa Charities. Today, on behalf of Villa Charities, I am honored to welcome all of you into our virtual home to celebrate Liberation Day, il 25 aprile, la Festa della Liberazione. Our mission at Villa Charities is to enrich lives through experiences that honor Italian culture and heritage. In this year in our history, our 50th anniversary, we are extremely proud that you have chosen to celebrate with us today this very important date in Italian history. We extend our heartfelt thanks to the many representatives from both the Canadian and Italian governments who have sent their messages of support. We are honored and grateful to them and to the Italian-Canadian community for their continued support of Villa Charities. We hope you enjoy our presentation today, and we invite you and encourage you to follow our media offerings and to visit us virtually, and when it becomes possible to visit us in person, to explore the many cultural programs that we offer that celebrate l'italianità. Vi ringraziamo di essere con noi oggi per celebrare questa occasione molto importante. Buona giornata e buona festa della liberazione. Viva l'Italia e viva il Canada.
Bonjour, buongiorno, good afternoon. Sono lieta di essere qui con voi oggi per commemorare la Festa della Liberazione. This festivity celebrates the fundamental pillars of Canada and Italy's long-standing friendship, our shared values of liberty, freedom, and democracy. Le Canada est fier d'avoir plus d'1,5 million Canadiens d'origine italienne, dont plusieurs ont émigré après la guerre. Oggi ricordiamo i grandi sacrifici per liberare l'Italia dalla dittatura di Mussolini e dalla tirannia di Hitler. In questo giorno gli italiani sono tornati in possesso della loro libertà conquistata duramente. Pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, les soldats canadiens ont joué un rôle important dans la campagne d'Italie. The strong relationships forged with many communities in Italy continue to this day. Together, the Italian resistance and allies, including the 1st Canadian Infantry Division, fought side by side. Dallo sbarco in Sicilia nel luglio del 1943 alla liberazione dell'Italia, i soldati canadesi hanno combattuto alcune delle più feroci battaglie della Seconda Guerra Mondiale. Ho avuto l'onore di commemorarli nelle tante città e paesi che hanno liberato Pechino, Reggio Calabria, Campobasso, Cassino, la Valle del Liri, Ortona e Ravenna. Today I have the opportunity to honor a great Canadian veteran, Max Dankner of the Princess Louise Dragoon Guards. He fought so bravely that he was honored with a military medal for gallantry, and he also showed great courage in saving his comrade from machine gun fire. Je suis particulièrement fière de célébrer l'importante contribution des femmes pendant la guerre. Gli uomini impegnati al fronte non potevano svolgere le loro funzioni abituali. Le donne, quindi, ricoprirono ruoli mai occupati prima negli uffici, nell'agricoltura e nell'industria. When in June 1944 the Allies entered Rome, many brave women took leadership roles in the Italian resistance, including taking arms and fighting alongside the Allied forces. Des femmes comme Carla Capone, qui est devenue vice-commandante des groupes d'action patriotique, elle a reçu une médaille d'or de la Valence militaire pour ses exploits en tant que combattant partisan. Young women like Stefanina Moro, who was only a teenager when she was captured by the Nazis and who died so bravely without revealing the names of her companions. E grandi donne, come Nilde Iote, eletta nel 1946 all'Assemblea Costituente. Lei ha collaborato alla stesura della Costituzione italiana che riconosce l'uguaglianza giuridica fra uomini e donne. Cette année, en raison de la COVID, nous devrons commémorer la Festa della Liberazione d'une façon différente. However, we must never forget the service and sacrifice of our courageous men and women in uniform and the many civilians who fought for the liberation of Italy from Nazi fascist occupation. So many people, including nearly 6,000 Canadian soldiers, were killed and laid to rest in cemeteries across Italy, many of them undecorated, unheralded, and unsung. Italiane e canadesi condividono valori e principi fondamentali come la pace, la democrazia, la cultura et i diritti civili. Nous devons protéger et promouvoir ce qui nous ont légué. We must always treasure and safeguard the great prize of peace and liberty which they gave to us. Buona Festa della Liberazione.
Hello, my name is Veronica Manson. I'm the director of the Italian Culture Institute in Toronto. And I would like to thank Villa Charities for organizing this important celebration. In Italy, April 25 is celebrated as Festa della Liberazione, Liberation Day. It is a national holiday that commemorates the end of the Second World War, but more poignantly, the end of the fascist regime and that of the Nazi Germany occupation, as well as the victory of the Allied forces and the forces of the resistance in Italy. After the chaotic turmoil of the end of the war, Italy had a temporary government that set the foundation for the new republic. April 25 wants to remember the date when, in 1945, the city of Milan was finally declared liberated by the Allied forces, armies, and by the Comitato di Liberazione Nazionale, the National Liberation Committee, an organization that represented all the Italian resistance movement fighting against both the Nazi Germany army and the Italian fascist forces. The liberation put an end to 22 years of fascist dictatorship and to 5 years of war, bloody war, paving the way to the historic referendum 14 months later on June 2nd, 1946. With that referendum, Italians were called to decide between monarchy and republic, and the majority of Italians chose to establish a democratic republic. So we can really say that April 25 was the beginning of the new and modern Italy that we know today. So thank you and buona giornata della liberazione.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Emanuele Sica, and I'm an assistant professor at the Royal Military College of Canada. It is my privilege, actually, to be introducing the 25th of April, il 25 aprile, the Italian Liberation Day, il giorno della liberazione, because its importance should not be underestimated. In fact, there is much to say about it, and actually my presentation, my small presentation, short one, will be actually to underline the evolution of the fascist regime, its plan, actually, its master plan for the conquest of the Mediterranean area, and where this endeavor, actually, with this strategy led, the Italian nation into a bottomless pit of the Second World War, and then to the Italian occupation and the Civil War. So first thing that I want to underline at the beginning is Benito Mussolini. As probably you know, was Italy's fascist dictator, bent actually to an expansionist policy with his ally here, Adolf Hitler, the Nazi dictator. And in fact, at the heart actually of fascist ideology was the expansionist policy to consider the Mare Nostrum here, our sea, the Mediterranean Sea, basically has the hunting ground of the future fascist regime, basing itself on the history in some way of ancient Rome, and wanted actually to tread the path of the ancient Rome armies. The fascists actually strove to conquer the Mediterranean area, especially the land here, as Libya at that time was already an Italian colony, but Tunisia, which had an important actually Italian immigration in there, but all the North Africa, but also Greece, Albania, and basically Istria here, and the region of the Balkans, and also not to forget the southern part of France with the county of Nice here, and basically the Savoy region. So all this was dubbed by the fascists the spazio vitale, the vital space, because it was, the fascist ideology has this idea that the Italian people basically deserved better, and therefore deserved actually to have more land for their colonization. And in order to create this new Roman Empire, in some ways, they actually needed to have, these new colonies. Italy went to war on the 10th of June 1940, most famously, with his infamous this speech made by the Benito Mussolini in in Piazza Venezia. It was actually a declaration to war to the Western democracies, especially at that point. It was a declaration of war to actually France. France was already losing the war against Germany, and therefore the Italian wanted to have a share of the war spoils, and feared actually that the German will end the war before they could join it, and therefore Mussolini decided, to join the war, and this was, dubbed as the coup de poignard dans le dos, basically the stab in the back by the French. And it was truly, actually, it was a rush effort that did not bear actually much, much results. Italy, in fact, that was a prelude. The Italian campaign, against France was a prelude actually to very disappointing results in the Second World War. There was definitely, here some very poor and results, and in fact, in Greece, for first and foremost, in North Africa, and some very shoddy occupation, or at least occupation that were not did not go as well as was intended, such as, for instance, in the Balkans, where the Italian actually committed also war crimes. The tip of the iceberg of the Italian disappointing actually Second World War campaign was Russia, and the Italians sent, actually, Mussolini wanted to send a big army in Russia, an army that was swept away basically in the aftermath of the Battle of Stalingrad, and that was swept away, and where 10,000s actually of Italian died actually of exposure, if not actually of battle wounds, in the Russian steppe. And this basically was the sign that the fascist regime, the dreams of glory of the fascist regime, was actually waning quite rapidly. This is why on the 25th of July 1943, Mussolini was dismissed by the king and subsequently arrested. In fact, this was coupled by the 8th of September, where the Italian military regime, basically led by General Badoglio, with the support of the king, decided to have an armistice, the Accessibile armistice, actually, with the ally, and Italy became actually co-belligerent in the Allied side. However, for Italy and the Italian, this armistice did not actually end, the war. In fact, it accrued the problem for the Italians, as basically Italy was split into half. The southern half was, basically controlled by the Allied, and the Allied little by little went up basically the Italian peninsula, even though it took longer than expected due also to some impervious geography that favored defense, the German defense actually, from the Allied invasion. On the other hand, the German actually occupied the center and northern part of Italy, and basically they were helped in their endeavor also by the Repubblica Sociale Italiana, the rump fascist regime of hardliners that basically was a regime that was propped up by the German, with Mussolini still at its helm. Against actually this regime and the German occupation stood the Italian partisans. Most of them were political activists for the democratic parties, such as the Christian Democrats, the Socialists, the Communists, or in some ways, former soldiers of the Italian army. I mean, we should actually belittle or minimize that many soldiers of the Italian army decided actually to join the partisans, even actually abroad, such as the Garibaldi division actually in Yugoslavia. We should also not minimize the impact of women in partisan bands. I mean, several women actually risked their lives, and in some times were even tortured and killed by occupation forces. And women were also very, very useful, and because they were less actually. They were less suspect to to the occupation, therefore widely used by partisan bands. The partisans themselves, help significantly the Allied, but more than, I would say, the military value of the partisans, which was not negligible, was actually the symbolic importance, because the partisans demonstrated that Italian wanted actually to fight for their freedom. And many Italians did not agree actually with the fascist regime, with the fascist policy, and they did not want to succumb actually to a passive attitude. And therefore, they want to fight for their freedom. In fact, if we look at the numbers, more than 35,000 partisans were actually killed in action or executed, and more than 21,000 partisans were either mutilated or left disabled by their wounds. 32,000 were killed abroad, mostly, in former Balkans, also in Russia, in Corsica, for instance. And we should not also forget the 800,000 prisoners of war, among them 600,000 IMI, internati militari italiani, who were the prisoners of war actually that were sent in Germany, many of them captured actually on the 8th of September 1943, and many of them refusing actually to side with the fascist Republican regime, pro-German regime, and some, a choice that's for some that they will cost them their lives, as they will basically stay in the German concentration camp. What is the Liberation Day on the 25th of April? Basically, it was a conventional date chosen in 1945 and 1946. The National Liberation Committee in Upper Italy, the CLNAI, which basically was the main institution, of resistant forces, proclaim actually the National Insurgency Day against the Germans on the 25th of April. By the 1st of May, actually, all northern cities, all northern Italy was freed from the German occupation, officially actually putting an end to 23 years of fascist dictatorship and 5 years of war, and also of 2 years of civil war and war within actually the Italian peninsula. La Festa Nazionale della Liberazione was in 1941 made actually a permanent national holiday. It still is, and it still actually had, massive, I would say, celebration in Italy and massive demonstration all around, actually, from former partisans and all organizations that are actually from all political sides that are actually supporting, the resistance movement, and the fact that resistance movement was a birth basically of the new democracy, of the new republican regime also in Italy, that stemmed actually from the Second World War. Thank you very much for following my presentation, and I'm looking forward also to comments to this presentation. Until then, take care and see you.
Buona Festa della Liberazione! I am Giulio Recchioni, and I am the Executive Director of Cultural Programming at Villa Charities. For the next segment, we have received the help of the Honorable Consiglio di Nino, who came to Canada as a young teenager in 1951 from Prato La Peligna in Abruzzo. After building his career as a successful banker, Consiglio eventually was appointed to the Senate of Canada, where he served as a senator for 22 years. Throughout his life, and even now that he's retired, Con continues to be passionate about the Italian community, Scouts Canada, and the recognition of Canadian war veterans who helped liberate Italy.
Hi Max, nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
How are you doing in these crazy times?
Very, very good. Very good.
Well, you know that this program is about a very special day in Italy, which is called Il Giorno della Liberazione, April 25th, right? You were in Italy during the Second World War. You're one of my heroes, as you know, we've talked many times. I wonder if you could tell the folks in Italy when you were in Italy and where you were in Italy.
Right.
Please.
Can I read this now?
Yes, please read.
Okay. Okay, my name is Max Moses Jacob Dankner. My regiment number is D141935. Born May the 30th, 1925 in Montreal. Belonged to the Princess Louise Dragoon Guards. It's an Ottawa regiment. Went to Italy at campaign 1943 to 1945. Journeyed from Canada to England and to Italy, Naples, Avellino, and Caserta. Then assigned to the Princess Louise Dragoon Guards as a reconnaissance regiment. Went through Bari, Foggia, Campobassa, Termoli, experienced a lot of resistance on the Sano River, Ortona. I was wounded on Hill 253, just north of Ortona, on August the 16th, 1944. After being a reconnaissance, went back to the regiment, went to Rome, Pescara, Ancona, and in Rimini. My regiment, which is the Princess Louise Dragoon Guards, was the first regiment into Rimini after the liquidation of the Germans. Took landing craft to Marseille and qualification, dispatch rider, and so on and so forth. But that's what happened in Italy. Just wounded just north of Ortona with a piece of shrapnel from a German 3-inch mortar, and was taken to the field dressing station. And after that, I went to a hospital for a while, and then I went back to the regiment after that. I was there for a little while. I was supposed to come home, but they needed reinforcements. They were short of reinforcements. Sent me back to the regiment.
So Max, when you were in Italy, as you know, there were the partisans. We call it the partigiani. Did you have an opportunity to meet any of the partisans in Italy when you were fighting there?
No. We had some Marines that were fighting along with us. Italian Marines. Yeah, Marines, right? They were fighting with us in Italy. And I met a lot of the people going through Italy, and we used to do a lot of house clearing. House clearing, you see, our job to be a reconnaissance outfit, and we were supposed to try and find where all the Germans were, see? So we'd go into a house and we'd ask somebody in Italian. The only thing that they told us to learn how to speak to on the boat was Dovi Tedeschi. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Where are the Germans?
Dove
So we
sono?
used to go in and looking for them and ask them Dove Tedeschi, and the first thing they used to say, Tedeschi a portare tutti i unienti e partire a tutto mangiare. No.
So my next question to Max is going to be, did you meet a lot of Italians? Did you interact with the Italian public?
Yeah, very, very interesting. Because we had, I used to, in rest area, we used to have time, we were in rest area. We had time and we met some people like in the village, and we'd asked something what they're doing, and I met this little girl down there, and I asked her maybe come to the movie with me. She says, fine. The only problem was that my mother has to come with us. So this was one of the situations. So this, but we got lots of food from them. They were so happy to see us. They were so tired of Tedeschi, and this was very, very, very obliging, very, very nice, very good reception, really.
I want to tell you something that just happened in Ortona, the town where Julia was born, the guy that's doing this for you, right?
Yeah.
In the last month, I think it was a couple of months ago, they actually named a square in Ortona for the Canadian heroes. It's called Piazza degli Eroi Canadesi. So now when the next time you go to Ortona, you gotta go and visit this beautiful square that is named for you and all of the rest of the Canadian soldiers who helped to liberate it.
Right, do that, right.
How does it feel for someone to Canada to go and fight to save Italy?
Well, being a soldier, you're not designated where you're going to go. They send you where you're needed. It just so happens that we went to the Italian campaign, and then we went from there. We went to France and Belgium and Holland. But that's where they sent us, and that's where we were allocated.
Yeah. How did it feel? How did you feel when you were there with the Italians?
Well, let me tell you, as I said earlier, I had a very good friend of mine that went to public in high school with me. His name was Jerry Policino, and we both joined the army together. He was Italian, and I was Jewish. We both joined the army together, and we went. We went through the whole Italian, went through the Hitler line and to the Gustav line and to the Hitler line, and he got himself killed right beside me. He got killed with a sniper, right? One of my best friends, and this is what happened. But that's what it is.
But this is an Italian from Canada.
Yeah, an Italian from Canada.
That you were fighting together.
Working together, both together. He died right beside me. He got hit with a bullet right through his head, right through his helmet. In fact, Germans had high-powered rifles.
So, Max, I understand that there was a special reason, a special purpose as to why you joined the army.
Right.
Can you tell us?
Yes. First of all, I'm a sibling. I'm the last of 6 children, and my father came from Ukraine, and I was only 16 years old at the time, and he got a letter from the Ukraine saying that they took his mother and his father to a concentration camp, and that was the end of the story. And I never saw my father cry. My father was a hard type man, ran a bakery, and this is what happened. So I was very annoyed, and I said to myself, I got to do something. So I went and I joined the reserve army, and that's figured, I figured go, save the war, save the thing, and that's the reason why that was the reason I actually joined. I was only 16. I joined the reserve army first, and then I went into the active army. Yeah.
Max, I have a great deal of respect for the soldiers. The things that we've done for you guys here in Canada, particularly those who fought in Italy and so forth. But at some point in time, when you came home, at some point in time, how did it feel to be part of a group of mainly young men, and some women, of course, and some older men, but mainly young men to go there and put their lives at stake to help save the world. How do they feel?
Well, let me tell you something. We live in a great country here, and it's very it feels like I really accomplished something. I didn't do much, but whatever I did my little bit of a share. And to come back to a country like this, which is a great thing, that people should appreciate the type of country that we live in. You don't have that type of problem all over. We have all kinds of problems all over the world, and we seem to be in pretty good shape. And this is a great country. And a lot of the Italian people, most of the Italian people, for example, in Toronto, most of the Italian people in Canada have built up half of Canada. You take Toronto itself was all built by most of the Italians, all the construction work when they came from Italy.
Yeah, but you know what? You have to feel a little proud that you were there to make this world that we have today.
Right.
That probably would not have been if it hadn't been for you and the rest of the many soldiers from all over the world, many of whom died to make sure that our life was better.
Right. It does me great. I feel great that I'm here to live to see all this here, and that we did accomplish what we tried to do, and that's about what I can say with this thing. That's it.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Max. I've said this to you many times.
It's been a pleasure. Right.
Thank you. Un piccolo ricordo. Il 25 di aprile, una celebrazione importante in Italia. Quando ero in Italia, sono arrivato qui quando avevo 13 anni, nel 1951, e io mi ricordo che durante la primavera alle scuole veniva qualcuno e ci prendeva tutti noi, fanciulli, fanciulle, ragazzi, ragazze, per uscire fuori per celebrare la liberazione, il giorno della liberazione. Non so se mi sto ricordando sbagliato, ma mi sento ancora un orgoglio che quando ero un piccolo ragazzino, dopo il 45, ho partecipato in queste celebrazioni del giorno della liberazione. Così voglio esprimere il mio orgoglio di aver potuto fare quello quando ero in Italia. Scusate il mio brutto italiano.